video just to show you the new GTT flywheel that we recently released for the R53 supercharged Mini Cooper S. That's your 2002 to 2006 models. The aluminium flywheel in itself has been around for a while. It's a very good thing to have for these cars. It spins the engine up a lot quicker. A lot of rotational mass loss is always a good thing. There's a few things you do need to know about an aluminium flywheel. In particular what type of clutch to use on that, which we'll cover in a minute, but also little things on the design of it which make it, we feel, better than other ones that are available on the market. Let's take a look at the ring gear first. Now the ring gear itself on an aluminium flywheel is a separate steel item. Okay, you'll have a look at the teeth on this. You'll see they're very, very beautifully machined. If you did have a standard flywheel next to us, you will see it's an identical match of the original flywheel. It does need to be the same because the starter motor engages with this. If the teeth form is even slightly wrong, it will make a slightly noisy starter motor operation and premature wear will set in. So this is an important feature. The fact it can also be taken on and off of the flywheel is also good. It actually is held on with 6 M6 retaining screws. Literally, as you can see, there just literally drops over there. Nice, beautiful sliding fit over the top. Held in place with 6 M6 12.9 tensile strength capac bolts. So it's got a lot of power holding it down there. It doesn't need to be glued on or welded on or pressed on. It's a sliding fit and held on with 6 bolts with a little bit of Loctite on there. That's important because it means if the ring gear does wear, that can be changed either by yourselves or by us very easily. It's literally a question of taking the 6 bolts out, taking the ring gear off as we're doing there, drop the new one on, bolt it back on. Very simple and worth putting within the design. If you go on to the other side of the flywheel, this is where the friction surface bolts on. Again, these are a GTT part. You'll see they held on with, I think it's 16 bolts, countersink bolts on there. We do use a metric size bolt on these rather than the American ones. Nothing wrong with the American ones, but they are very hard to get hold of. With the GTT design, the countersink angle, the bore of for the bolt is exactly right for a metric size. So these are a fairly standard size bolt and can be achieved, can be obtained quite easily. I say that because if you do need to change the friction plate for a new one at some point, because obviously the clutch will wear the face of the bolt. If you leave it too long, then you would probably want to put new bolts in. So they just literally drop through from the front there, and then they're held on from the back with a all metal lock nut in these counterballs in the back. Again, standard metric sizes. So that's something that you can do yourself, or we can do for you. You know, in years to come, when you get to the point where your clutch is worn, you've left your clutch too long and it's more on the friction plate. So that's something we've put in the design. The other one is these dowels. Now these dowels, there's 3 of these. They're positioned around the circumference there, the flywheel. This is the clutch cover. The outer part of the clutch drops onto this. Now we've got a step in there. Why have we put a step in there? Okay, the reason being, if you have a parallel dowel there, there is a chance that with the vibration of the engine, this dowel could actually drop straight out, get caught around the outside of the flywheel and push a hole straight through your gearbox. We have seen that. We've seen that firsthand. That's why I mentioned that with another brand. That's enough said on that one. Okay, let's talk a little bit about aluminium. Why do you want to use an aluminium flywheel? Well, aluminium is light, obviously, but there are other advantages as well. One of them being, as I say, the removable ring gear and the removable friction plate. But the other one is aluminium is a heat sink. Obviously, with a clutch produces a lot of heat, and the heat will be basically around this friction surface here. By having a lot of aluminium mass here, the heat is basically taken away. Okay, so the point where the clutch might slip with a steel flywheel, you would probably find, because of the lower temperatures, it wouldn't slip with an aluminium one. The other advantage of aluminium flywheels is there's no chance of aluminium exploding. Okay, steel flywheels have been known to explode at high RPM. We personally haven't seen it. These are just things, information that you can read for yourself on the internet. So aluminium is the way to go. Because it's not a casting, the CNC machine from a solid billet of aluminium, big billet. Because it's CNC machined all round, there can be no imbalance. Okay, everything is balanced in every plane, total 100% balance. When you're using a casting, you have to modify the casting where the casting doesn't clean up through all the machining processes, to putting lightning holes in, scallops, things like that, to put the item in balance. And it's never 100%, usually good enough, but not 100%. Something that's aluminium, that's machined all the way around in every plane, will give perfect balance. I mean, another example of that would be our crank pulley that we do. I haven't got one to hand, but again, that's machined from a solid billet, so that will be 100% balanced every time. Just briefly touching on the clutches. We do get asked this, what clutch to use with our flywheel, rightly so. As far as dimensionally, you can use the standard clutch. The standard clutch is designed to fit on this flywheel, the centre plate and the cover, and obviously the bearing as well, which clips onto the gearbox. But being a solid flywheel, you cannot use or you shouldn't use a solid centre plate. You should use a centre plate that's got 3 springs around the centre of it, or 4 springs, whatever it is, so it's got a little bit of a cush drive assembly. In effect, that's taking the place of the dual mass flywheel, which has got like two separate sections of that, which can rotate to an extent independently. So we don't want to be using the original rigid standard plate. We need to be using a sprung centre plate. Now we do stock the Helix range for that, which without a doubt are the best available. There's no other that will touch that. And you can do that in an organic compound, or we can do it in the cerometallic paddle type with the 4 paddles around the outside. Okay. You can then use, for the cover, you can use the original equipment mini clutch cover, which will fit straight on. That's quite a good combination with the organic plate if you don't want to go too far, if you're not running ridiculously high torque and power levels. Or if you want to go for the very best, then you would fit the Helix heavy duty cover, and we would probably recommend you use the sintered centre plate. So the 2 most obvious options would be use a standard original clutch, probably put a new one on, but if your old one's quite new then it might be okay, with the Helix organic centre plate, the organic sprung centre plate. The other option going up from that, or the most popular one up from that, would be go for the sintered paddle centre plate, again sprung, and we would use that with the Helix heavy duty cover. Obviously you could use the organic plate with that if you wanted to. We might do a video at some point just showing the different clutches, but the important thing is it is all standard dimensions, and everything is serviceable, and obviously you're going to get the benefits of having a much lighter flywheel in the first place. But I think we've covered everything there. I can't think of much else. I mean, other little small details, only small things, but like these are the tapped holes here which the clutch is held on with. The 6 bolts hold that on. We've taken the trouble with those to drill and tap this very deep into the flywheel, so you can use a very long bolt. We provide a bolt that literally gets within 2 or 3 millimeters of the end of that thread, not little tiny ones. They're decent length there. You can just use a little bit of medium strength thread lock on those, but again, that ensures that over time the threads won't strip out or worse. So yeah, I think that's it. We do sell these separately. Hopefully you won't be needing one of those for 10 years. Friction plates, again, we keep these in stock. They're not coming from America or from the continent. They're made here and they're all held in stock. So if you need a new friction plate, and they're pretty reasonable price, I think we're probably about £39 plus the VAT for the friction plates, replaceable ones. They are there. So it's something we can provide to you very quickly. And as I say, if you want to do it yourself, you probably would, you can change it yourself. It's literally just nuts and bolts. We can provide these with all new nuts and bolts, and we can provide these with new nuts and bolts as well. So thanks for listening, and have a good day. Thank you.